process a TigerBuy invoice, formerly called an e-vendor voucher, for a non-PO item or items, navigate to the Accounts Payables module, Invoices, and create New Invoice. This can also be found on the Shopping homepage under Shortcuts. In the Type field, you can choose between an invoice or a credit memo payment. In the From field, choose Non-PO and then type any part of the supplier you wish to pay. If the supplier does not populate, it may mean they do not have an approved and active account in TigerBuy. All suppliers must have an active and approved TigerBuy account in order to process a TigerBuy invoice. After choosing the appropriate supplier, click Create. A partially completed draft TigerBuy invoice will be shown, and you will be on the Entry tab of the invoice. You will see Entry with a line under it at the top of the page, signifying the current page in view. First, enter the appropriate due date. This is the date payment will be made to the supplier. It will default to the current day and should never be a date in the past. Be careful with this date though, as Banner will hold payment until that date should you enter it as a date in the future. Next, enter your supplier invoice number and press Save. At this point, it is recommended to add the line items for payment. Scroll to the bottom of the TigerBuy invoice, enter the item description, quantity, and price estimate, and then press Add Line. Complete this step for as many items as required that will match the supplier's invoice. This same function can be completed on the summary view as well. Scroll to the bottom of the TigerBuy invoice and press Add Non-PO Item. Once you enter the item description, quantity, and price estimate, press Save or save and add another should you have multiple line items. Once all line items have been entered, you will see them populated at the bottom of the TigerBuy invoice. The top right side of your TigerBuy invoice will display all items required prior to submission. These items are shown with a red X both here and throughout the body of the TigerBuy invoice. To address these issues, enter the appropriate information by editing the section with the required information. You can access these sections by either clicking the pencil in each section or by clicking on the requirement itself in the top right corner of the TigerBuy invoice. Once entering all required information, press Save and you will see the required items reduced in the top right corner. The information required here will include not only your line item information, campus, various due dates, etc. It will also require you to enter the appropriate FOPL code for the invoice. Once you've entered your FOPL code, you also need to add a copy of the supplier supplied invoice in the Attachments tab by adding an internal attachment. Press the Browse button, find the appropriate receipt or supplier invoice, upload, and press Save Changes. Once all issues have been entered and/or corrected, the red X's will all disappear. Please note you may find some items in the top right corner with a yellow triangle with an exclamation point in the middle. These are warnings and are items that can be changed if you need, but are not required for submission of the TigerBuy invoice. Once you've confirmed all items are complete and you do not need to update any additional items on the invoice, you are ready to submit the TigerBuy invoice for payment by clicking the Complete button in the top right corner. A confirmation screen will now appear with your TigerBuy invoice number, formerly the e-vendor voucher V number. This I number in the live environment will be your Banner-generated invoice number for reference when looking up in either area. The TigerBuy invoice, if you navigate back to it by clicking on the blue hyperlink, will now show you the workflow in the bottom right corner of the invoice and the necessary approvals that will be required prior to payment being submitted to the supplier. At any point throughout the approval process, the workflow can be reviewed for the TigerBuy invoice to see the current process. Also, comments can be added at any time by clicking on the Comments tab and pressing the plus arrow. Attachments can also be added to this screen. If you are not currently in the approval queue, you can still add attachments here and notify the appropriate recipients of those attachments or those comments for the TigerBuy invoice. Once the invoice has gone through the appropriate approval queues, payment will be submitted and the necessary information will be populated in the Payment Information section of the TigerBuy invoice.